find on Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. Great to have you along. I appreciate it.
I've been listening to you for years, Greg. Thanks for all you do and keeping us informed.
You sound a little taller.
We got a mountain of stuff to get to this morning.
No prescription required.
Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. Americans play to win all the time.
I don't believe in the no-win scenario.
This is
Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show this Wednesday morning, January 22nd. So Donald Trump with a very big announcement yesterday. He announced billions of dollars in private sector investment, all to build AI, artificial intelligence, and he wants to get it done in the United States. And he announced a venture called Stargate, and OpenAI, SoftBank, and Oracle are all a part of this, and there's respective CEOs were there along with Donald Trump yesterday. But regarding the investment in AI, Donald Trump said, what we want, and I can get back to saying President Trump again. That's going to be hard to get used to. President Trump saying, what we want to do is keep it in this country, talking about AI. He said, China is a competitor, other are competitors. We want to be in this country, and we're making it available. I'm going to help a lot through emergency declarations because we have an emergency. We have to get this stuff built. So they have to produce a lot of electricity, and we'll make it possible for them to get this production done easily at their own plants if they want, Trump said. So these executives, apparently these companies, according to reports, are expected to commit $500 billion into Stargate over the next 4 years. And each of these tech executives then yesterday, again, Larry Ellison of Oracle said the 10 data centers for this project already under construction in Texas. He said that more would be planned, and this will expand to other states. And Ellison said, AI holds incredible promise for all of us, for every American. We'll talk about this coming up this morning. We'll get your thoughts on it a little later in the program today. Trump said the venture would create over 100,000 American jobs almost immediately. And Altman said, I think this will be the most important project of this era. And I'm interested in what these AI executives are saying. Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle, called this a very large investment that affects all of humanity, he said. It's really a revolution in medicine, but it's a revolution in many other industries as well. Medicine just touches us all. Yes, it takes a huge investment, but the result of the investment will be vaccines that prevent cancers, personalized medicine where we will never again run into a problem like COVID-19 because we'll get an early warning. We know when COVID starts, when there are a handful of patients, rather than having to wait until it's become an epidemic and very difficult to control. Sam Altman of he's the CEO of OpenAI, is talking about with this investment, he said, this means we can create AI and AGI in the United States. It wouldn't have been obvious that this was possible. I think with a different president, it might not have been possible. But we're thrilled to get to do this, and I think it'll be great for Americans, great for the whole world. And then he said that these AI and those who are out on the front then working on AI need to be responsible and develop the technology carefully. And that's where I hope to involve you in the conversation this morning. What's your reaction to that? How are you, how do you feel about that AI, this incredible investment in AI? This is just a massive story this morning. So Project Stargate is what it's called. And this will start with an immediate deployment of 100 billion with the construction of state-of-the-art data centers dedicated to AI research and development. And again, those will be established in Texas, as I just explained. Expected to create over 100,000 new jobs. So that'll stimulate the U.S. economy. What technological advancements will come from this? I think it kind of, remains to be seen. As I mentioned, healthcare would be an area where they plan to focus. So, Project Stargate, and again, we'll talk about that coming up a little bit later this morning. And we'll do that, I think, this morning at 8:30 in that final segment of the show this morning. We've had Jim Olander on the show at 8 o'clock today. But we will get to that. I'm very interested to get your thoughts on that. That's a big story this morning. Other action taken yesterday in the Trump administration. Of course, yesterday was day one, the first full day of the new Trump administration. And so Fox News has a story this morning that the White House ordered all DEI offices to begin closing by the end of today. So by the end of today, and they notified agencies and departments that they need to begin taking steps to close all diversity, equity, and inclusion offices by the end of the day today, and then place those government workers on paid leave. And so the acting director of OPM, the Office of Personnel Management, sent a memo out to all of these departments and agencies saying that, and this went out yesterday, said that by no later than 5 p.m. today, they are to send an agency-wide notice to employees informing them of the closure, asking employees if they know of any efforts to disguise these programs. I just wonder if this is, okay, Joe Biden is out. The president is now out of office. And I think there's kind of refreshing to be able to say that to you, but this, that doesn't mean that there still won't be a lot of obstruction and a lot of stonewalling coming from within the federal government, I think, as well as coming from states. And we're seeing that already. We'll get to that over the course of the morning. And then this is the story that at Fox News that really caught my attention today. Fox News says they've been told that multiple career staffers in the Department of Justice have been reassigned. So DOJ reassigned multiple senior officials across these various divisions ahead of Donald Trump then being sworn in. And Fox says it's difficult to fire a career person just because, so reassigning is possible, and that appears to have happened. So you've got a number of folks, what they're doing is shuffling people around. One was a veteran deputy assistant attorney general in the National Security Division. He was involved in the investigation into Hillary Clinton's handling of classified information. as well as looking into Trump's classified documents at Mar-a-Lago, all of this. A number of folks. FoxNews.com has that story this morning. So shuffling them around and making them a little bit more, I think we're going to see a lot of that kind of thing. Also, Donald Trump, the shakeup at the FBI has begun, and it really happened. You had the director of the FBI, Christopher Wray, who announced last month that he was going to be stepping down prior to Trump coming into office, that he was going to step down. And then just hours before Donald Trump was sworn in, the acting director of the FBI, Paul Abate, he suddenly stepped down. And so Bruce Swartz was reassigned, along with as many as 20 other staffers then of the Justice Department. And so the White House announced on Monday Brian Driscoll as acting director of the FBI. Now, again, he will serve only until Kash Patel would be confirmed, and I'm expecting that he will be confirmed by the U.S. Senate. So Brian Driscoll now is the acting director of the FBI, at least at this moment. Also, we had Donald Trump signing an executive order titled Restoring Freedom of Speech and Ending Federal Censorship. This is not one I spent a lot of time on yesterday, but the order explicitly bans any federal department, agency, or official from engaging in activities that would restrict the free speech of Americans. And also, and this I think was just so refreshing of what we saw Donald Trump doing, all of these executive orders that he signed. And we touched on this a little bit yesterday. And I want to make this very, very clear that at least my own thinking, I want to make clear to you that I know there are going to be legal challenges. There are already a number of states that have filed suit against the federal government in regard to the executive order he took on birthright citizenship. So you knew that was going to happen. I don't think that's any big surprise that we knew that was coming. And you may have heard Jonathan Turley on the Fox News Rundown just prior to this show this morning talking about this. He's one of the legal minds, constitutional scholars in the country that I really, really admire is Jonathan Turley. And he has said that, what this has done is really, this will be headed for the courts. And you have to wonder, of these executive orders, were in fact some of those designed to get these issues in front of the court and have some rulings so that we don't wind up covering the same ground again and again and again. It just gets exhausting. I mean, and we talked about this yesterday, Donald Trump signing the executive order challenging birthright citizenship. Among other big stories this morning, global markets are reacting to the threats of U.S. tariffs, according to the Financial Times of London. So you got global markets responding to that. J.P. Morgan has established a Trump war room in order to navigate all of the new economic and regulatory measures, tariffs, financial regulations, all of that kind of thing. The time for a war room was when Joe Biden was president. I mean, I'm just saying. Also, Donald Trump pardoned Ross Ulbricht, who is the founder of Silk Road. So this is, I think it's among the controversial moves and the media loves, especially this story is coming from The Guardian. Controversial. So Donald Trump, among the pardons, founder of Silk Road, Ross Ulbricht, has received a pardon from Donald Trump. Trump also revoked environmental regulations. He has just been really, really busy. We've got. I'm looking at headlines this morning, and I don't want to cover issues I've already shared with you. And we talked about this yesterday. Donald Trump pardoning the 1,500 January 6 prisoners. A lot of reaction to that, especially from Democrats. Arizona Republicans are pushing for cooperation with federal immigration authorities. There was a coordinated attack in Portland on the county elections building. They smashed more than 24 windows and graffitis at the Portland election office. Also, during the national prayer service at the Washington National Cathedral yesterday, the bishop urging Donald Trump to show compassion towards immigrants and LGBTQ youth. She talked about the fears, challenges faced by these communities, and this was happening while Donald Trump was at this prayer service. Also, let's get outside of politics. Major winter storm bringing record-breaking snowfall to southern states, up to 10 inches in New Orleans. Senator John Fetterman is denying any change in his party affiliation. There are rumors that he was changing to Republican, and Fetterman says that's not going to happen. I believe him. I don't think it will. Marco Rubio is set to, he was sworn in yesterday. Rubio will host ministers from the Quad nations. That's Australia, India, Japan, and the United States. They're going to talk about strengthening alliances and addressing regional security concerns. And then Donald Trump dismissed Admiral Linda Fagan from her position as Commandant of the U.S. Coast Guard. She had made history as the first woman to lead a branch of the U.S. Armed Forces and really had come under fire because of her woke initiatives. And so she was replaced by Donald Trump. That's also a big story this morning. We've got some big stories, local and statewide this morning, and we'll talk about this. House Bill 1052 in the state of South Dakota, introduced by Carla Lems and Senator Mark Lapka, aims to prohibit the use of eminent domain. It's just that simple. An act to prohibit the exercise of eminent domain for a pipeline that carries carbon oxide. So, and they're saying it's just simple. Notwithstanding the provisions of any other law, a person may not exercise the right of eminent domain to acquire right-of-way for, construct, or operate a pipeline for the purpose of transporting carbon oxide. You and I will talk about that this morning. That is a big issue because I'm curious, do you believe that companies should be, private companies now, should be allowed to use eminent domain to build pipelines? This has been a hot issue in South Dakota and impacts a lot of you, especially landowners I know listen. Kello covers a big chunk of eastern South Dakota, and I know a number of you are impacted by this. So do you think, should it be up to landowners to have the final say about their property being used for these kinds of infrastructure projects and so on? So we will talk about it. So again, House Bill 1052 has been introduced in the South Dakota legislature, and you and I will be talking more about that. Also, the city of Sioux Falls is going to be hosting a regional homelessness forum coming up tomorrow. This will be at 5:30 tomorrow evening at the Orpheum Theater. And there'll be a panel discussion, including South Dakota Department of Social Services Secretary Matt Altoff, others, Dean Karski, County Commissioner Dean Karski, Sioux Falls Mayor Paul Tenakin will be there. And the mayor has talked about the city's commitment to addressing issues of homelessness. So if you're interested in that, again, this forum will be coming up tomorrow night, 5:30 at the Orpheum. And again, it will feature a panel discussion, and it should be very, very interesting. And one of the things, this is coming from the City of Sioux Falls website, they say the forum will share insights, progress, and actionable solutions while encouraging collaboration. So that'll be coming up tomorrow. That's a quick look at the big stories this morning. Thanks so much for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. It's great to have you along. You're going to notice it's a little bit warmer than it was. In fact, it's a whole lot warmer than it was yesterday. Cloudy skies and 29 currently in Sioux Falls. No wind chill, no feels like, cloudy and 29. And you're listening to the Greg Belfrage Show on Kello.
Weeknights 5 to 8. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is sponsored by Tires, the Give You More Tire and Automotive Store.
We get calls for cleaning in every room, in every type of house, in and around Sioux Falls, Brookings, and Yankton, including cleaning sewage.
Oh, it is a new day, my friend.
I gave that job to Andy. I'm Kyle Berg, and I'm with Impact.
Hey, I made a change this morning for those of you who are watching on YouTube, that if you would like to comment, you can. You'll be able to, I've had it closed previously. So if you would like to comment, you can. I will just say this. As I'm on the air, you guys have seen how busy I am. I will not be engaging with you as I do during the fourth hour. So during the fourth hour, I'm able to see the comments, and it's much more relaxed setting. As I'm on the air, obviously, my attention is to folks that are listening to the radio station overall. So I won't be reacting to you, but what it will allow you to do is, if you want to converse with each other, you can. So I will take a look maybe quickly at the end of the hour to take a look and see what is being said. But generally, I'm not going to be able to respond. I'm not going to be looking at the comments because I'm focused on my job primarily of what's going on the air. So, but that's available to you if you want to take advantage of it, by all means. So I'll start doing that for you every morning. Okay, where are we? Where am I? It's a good question.
Actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing had life changed. Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. AUDIEN hearing.com. Brought to you by
Excuse me.
Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
Cloudy skies for today, periods of light snow or flurries. Accumulations will stay less than an inch. While the high temperature at 32, light northwest wind 5 to 15. We'll have a decrease in cloud cover as we go through the overnight. Still a chance at a couple of scattered flurries. Low temperature at 4. Colder tomorrow, partly cloudy, high at 20, light northwest wind. From the Kello storm.
And in Sioux Falls at 6:30, cloudy and 29. Joe Bowman is in the Kello.com News Center. Coming up, South Dakota House has approved a resolution to let voters decide on whether to modify the state's Medicaid expansion requirements. New House bill has been introduced that addresses eminent domain. Details coming up. You're listening to Kello.
Federal agencies have until 5 p.m. today to close all DEI offices and place workers on leave. President Donald Trump signing an executive order yesterday ending what he calls DEI discrimination in the federal workforce.
The White House says, quote, this order enforces long-standing federal statutes and faithfully advances the Constitution's promise of colorblind equality before the law.
That's Fox's Brooke Singman. President Trump announcing a $500 billion investment with OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank to develop AI infrastructure in the U.S.
AI has to be in the hands of the United States. AI is for the good and not for the bad. We need to beat the Chinese when it comes to owning that space.
Florida Congresswoman Maria Salazar in Fox Business, and there are more than 1,200 flight cancellations in the U.S. today after the South got record snowfall. America's listening to Fox News.
KELO News Time 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the KELO.com News Center. The South Dakota House has approved the resolution to let voters decide in 2026 on whether to modify the state's Medicaid expansion requirements. House Joint Resolution 5001 would remove the constitutional requirement for Medicaid expansion if federal matching funds fall below the current 90% rate. Representative Will Mortensen says circumstances have changed.
We are respecting the sovereignty of those voters by submitting this question back to them. They approved it under one understanding. If that understanding changes, I think it is only right that this body says to them, do you feel the same way under a different value proposition?
Representative Caden Whitman says the resolution could change the voters' intent from the 2022 passage.
It does undermine the will of the South Dakota voters. I was one of those individuals in 2022 that voted to expand Medicaid, and I take exception with the insinuation that I did not have full understanding of what it was I was voting for.
The House voted 59-7 in favor of the resolution. It now moves over to the Senate floor. A new House bill has been introduced in Pierre that addresses eminent domain and private property rights. House Bill 1052 aims to protect landowners from losing their property to pipeline construction under the umbrella of eminent domain. This comes as Summit Carbon Solutions have reapplied to have their pipeline project approved by the South Dakota state government. Tuition freezes at South Dakota's public universities may be coming to an end as budget restraints continue to tighten. The Board of Regents has informed the State Senate Education Committee that they may not be able to sustain the program any longer. Over the past 3 years, it's absorbed cost increases to keep tuition and fees low for students. And in sports, college women's basketball, the Coyotes host North Dakota State, and the Jackrabbits are in Minnesota to take on St. Thomas. Both games tip off tonight at 7. From the KELO.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. KELO News Talk 1320 107.9.
Mostly cloudy as we go through the day today, watching for flurries, maybe that quick hit of light snow. On the high temperature of 32, northwest winds 5 to 15. Snow amounts will remain less than an inch. Flurries for tonight for our overnight low. However, sunshine returns tomorrow. It will be a colder day, high temperature at 20, light northwest winds. On the KELOland Live Dr. Storm Center, I'm Scott Myers.
Having trouble receiving KELO at 107.9? If you're in the Sioux Falls Metro, try us at FM 105.1. KELO News Talk 1320 and now at 105.1.
Remember this name, Stargate. It's the artificial intelligence that will literally change everything, including a cure for most cancers. I'm Kim Commando for NetSuite. Download the CFO's Guide to Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning for free at netsuite.com/Kim. Yesterday's announcement by President Trump, along with the biggest tech CEOs, is the most consequential technical project of the century. It will touch the lives of everyone. Stargate is bigger than going back to the moon, more important than going to Mars. Oracle CEO Larry Ellison, Sam Altman, the inventor and CEO of ChatGPT, and the CEO of SoftBank, Masayoshi Son, announced a $500 billion investment in the biggest project ever. This new AI will be used by everyone for literally everything. In medicine, Stargate promises cures and the ability to stop most diseases from happening. We cannot fathom all this means, but yesterday, the future was changed forever. Always be tech ahead with my free newsletter. Sign up at getkim.com. What does the future hold for business? Ask 9 experts and you'll get 10 answers. Rates rising or falling, inflation being up or down. Can someone please invent a crystal ball? Until then, over 41,000 businesses have future-proofed their business with NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud ERP, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR all into one fluid platform. With one unified business management suite, there's one source of truth, giving you the visibility and control you need to make quick decisions. With real-time insights and forecasting, you're peering into the future with actionable data. When you're closing the books in days, not weeks, you're spending less time looking backward and more time on what's next. And speaking of opportunity, you can now download the CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning at netsuite.com/Kim. The guide is free for you at netsuite.com/Kim. That's netsuite.com/Kim. netsuite.com/Kim.
The Kim Commando Show, live Saturday mornings at 9. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is sponsored by Tires. Okay. To make sure you have the proper traction this winter.
Bring charm from the outdoors into your home with Renewal by Anderson picture and combination windows.
This has been such a busy week for me at work. So I'm like, oh, man, are we done yet? And I'm not talking about this time with you. I love the time with you. It's the other stuff I got going.
Get to know us at l-s.com, where solutions are extraordinary.
It's tax time. If you need help, call Nest Tax and Bookkeeping Service. Voted your local best for 19 years in a row. Nest Tax is locally owned and professionally staffed with enrolled agents and CPAs, and they're ready to put their knowledge to work for you. Nest Tax is open extended hours and weekends at 2 convenient Sioux Falls locations to serve you. The IRS says don't paper file or send in checks. Go to Nest Tax to e-file your return and use direct deposit or direct debit. If you suffered loss due to severe weather in 2024, you may be able to deduct that loss on your tax return. Make an appointment with Nest Tax to see how the loss might impact you. Call Nest Tax today or schedule with them online at nesttax.com. That's nesttax.com. You're more than just a number at Nest. Locally owned, locally known, locally the best.
Winter in South Dakota is one big question mark.
What's it gonna be like today? How bad are the roads?
Ears are scratchy.
Get most of the answers you want with up-to-date forecasts and the latest road conditions on Kello News Talk.
.638. Oh, much warmer than yesterday. Cloudy skies, 29. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. It's great to have you along this morning. Hey, a reminder, coming up a little later this morning, Jim Olander of the Sioux Falls Stampede will join us. We'll touch base with Jim. Sioux Falls Stampede played Team USA over this weekend, and they had were gangbusters on Saturday night and a rougher time on Sunday. So we'll visit with Jim Olander about that coming up this morning. Also, for those of you who follow me on Facebook, and we'll talk about this coming up this morning after 7, should private companies be allowed to use eminent domain to take land for carbon dioxide pipelines? Or do you think property rights always come first? So I'm anxious to take your phone calls coming up this morning after 7. You can leave a comment this morning on my page at Facebook.
It's trending now.
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that. News and views from Belf's News Gallery.
Well, Donald Trump yesterday announcing $500 billion in private sector investment to build artificial intelligence infrastructure in the United States. And Trump said he was joined by 3 technology CEOs. And Trump said these world-leading technology giants are announcing the formation of Stargate. So put that name down in your books, because I think you're going to hear a lot about it in the future. A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States. And he said, what we want to do is to keep it in this country. China is a competitor. Others are competitors. We want to be in this country, and we're making it available. I'm going to help a lot through emergency declarations because we have an emergency. We have to get this stuff built, Trump said. They have to produce a lot of electricity, and we'll make it possible for them to get this production done easily at their own plants if they want. So he said he believed the initiative would create over 100,000 American jobs almost immediately. And he was joined by the other tech CEOs. I shared a lot of their comments in the last segment. That's a big story this morning. Also, the Commandant of the U.S. Coast Guard has been terminated over concerns about the border, recruitment, and an erosion of trust. So the admiral who was the commandant of the U.S. Coast Guard, Admiral Linda Lee Fagan, has been terminated by the acting Secretary of Homeland Security. And according to reports, Fagan had demonstrated leadership deficiencies, operational failures, which include the failure to address border security threats, insufficient leadership in recruitment and retention, mismanagement in acquiring things like icebreakers and helicopters, excessive focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, and an erosion of trust. Because you've heard about Operation Foul Anchor, which was the Coast Guard's internal investigation into sexual assault cases. So they said that Fagan had significant failures in recruiting personnel and a number of different things. She had made DEI policies a priority, including at the Coast Guard Academy. So then that diverted resources and focus from, what you would consider to be the essentials of the Coast Guard and focus on those things rather than focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So you may remember Fagan was grilled by senators this past summer when she was questioned for not holding anybody accountable regarding the cover-up. So she is now gone. That's a big story this morning. Also, and this does not come as any surprise to me, and I don't believe that it will to you either, but Donald Trump facing lawsuits over hundreds of his executive orders. There's one in particular, Maryland now among 22 states suing Donald Trump over his attempt to end birthright citizenship. So you've got 22 states already that are wanting to sue Donald Trump over his attempt to end birthright citizenship. It's been a very big story this week, the last few days especially. And I think this is, and I wonder, was the executive order designed to get exactly that kind of response and get this thing in front of the courts? I wonder if it was. It would make absolutely perfect sense to me that let's get this thing in front of the courts and let's see where we go. Let's see where we stand. But it's what it's done already, I think. It's got us talking about it, right? We talked about it yesterday. We were getting your reaction. And so already you've got Americans focusing on it. You've got states suing over it. The conversation has started. And I think that was the goal the entire time. A lot of stories involving Donald Trump. Donald Trump has named an acting FBI director. again, we're waiting for Kash Patel, who is Trump's nominee to lead the FBI. We're waiting for him to be confirmed. But in the interim, because you had Christopher Wray stepping down prior to Trump taking office, and then minutes before, literally hours before Donald Trump was inaugurated, Paul Abate, who had been filling in for Wray, he stepped down. So it's a veteran FBI agent now who has been named the acting director of the FBI as we wait for Kash Patel to be confirmed. Also, Donald Trump signed an executive order. We talked about this yesterday, but it's trending this morning. A lot of these stories are just trending. An executive order to withdraw the United States from the World Health Organization. So Trump was, as he was seen signing the executive order, he spoke about during his first term, the U.S. had paid $500 million to the WHO, and he said China was paying a lot less, and he said he thought it seemed a little unfair. That's a big one, he said. And he said that's the reason why he terminated the funds then to the World Health Organization. And Trump said, China with 1.4 billion people, we have 350. Nobody knows what we have because so many come in illegally, he said. But anyway, he pulled the funding. Donald Trump also was named Brian Driscoll to serve as acting FBI director then. And again, it was a little bit odd because you had Christopher Wray saying that he was stepping down, and then Paul Abate, who filling it, well, he retired on Monday, just minutes, according to this story. This is just minutes before Trump took office. Also, Donald Trump has signed a full and unconditional pardon of the creator of Silk Road, Ross Ulbricht. Is it Ulbricht or Ulbricht? Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that. And Trump, in his social media post Tuesday, said, I just called, Ross's mother to let her know that in honor of her and the libertarian movement, which supported me so strongly, it was my pleasure to have just signed a full and unconditional pardon of her son, Ross, he said. The scum that worked to convict him were some of the same lunatics who were involved in the modern day weaponization of government against me. He was given 2 life sentences plus 40 years. Ridiculous, Trump said. Trump also, and this story is still trending, Donald Trump promising to release the assassination documents of JFK, RFK, Martin Luther King Jr. So he declared that on Sunday that he would declassify those files, that he would do that early on. Also, the bishop during the national prayer service this week, this was the one that took place at Washington National Cathedral that Trump had attended prior to his inauguration. The bishop saying, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are sacred. There are gay, lesbian, transgender children, Democratic, Republican, independent families, some who fear for their lives. I'm just at a loss. People in fear of their lives. Really? I understand we have disagreements, but I mean, honestly, Elise Stefanik pledging Tuesday to push Donald Trump's America First stance. So this was yesterday. Elise Stefanik, going through her confirmation hearings, Donald Trump has named her to be the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. And Stefanik said, our tax dollars should not be complicit in propping up entities that are counter to American interests, anti-Semitic, or engaging in fraud, corruption, or terrorism, she said during her opening remarks. And then she went on to I'm looking at some of the reaction from lawmakers here, excuse me. So Stefanik pledging an America First agenda at the UN. Senator Jim Risch, who's the chairman of the committee, criticized the UN, saying that Stefanik can bring much needed change. He called for a reevaluation of every UN agency to determine if its actions benefit America, and if they don't, hold them accountable until the answer is a resounding yes. At this point, the U.S. should seriously examine further contributions, and indeed, participation in the UN is even beneficial to the American people, he said. Amen. Senator Risch, top Democrat on the committee, stressed the importance of America's presence at the UN. She said, we benefit from UN peacekeeping missions that would otherwise fall to the American military. We are better off because of our efforts to stabilize societies and provide life-saving assistance in places like Sudan, Syria, and Ukraine. So the UN peacekeeping missions, do we benefit when UN peacekeepers are there versus the American military? Why would I would just be curious to hear your thoughts on why we're better off when we have UN peacekeepers there rather than the United States military. Also trending this morning, Barron Trump, Donald Trump's son, Barron. We're learning that Barron Trump was this is a little confusing the way this story is written at Fox Business. This is a luxury real estate venture will not be relaunched, according to one of Barron's partners in the project. So the New York Post had reported that Barron Trump planned to launch this along with two business partners and so on. So the company was incorporated in Wyoming last year, and as of now, the company will not be relaunched. And that story is trending. Also, and we talked about this briefly yesterday, Marco Rubio actually sworn in, first of Donald Trump's cabinet secretaries to be sworn in. So he was sworn in, and I told you this yesterday, a 99-0 vote in the Senate happened pretty quickly yesterday morning. And Rubio said he was speaking about the war between Russia and Ukraine. And Rubio said it's a war and a conflict that was started by Russia, but now it's a stalemate, a protracted and bloody conflict. It's been incredibly destructive, I would argue, for both Russia and Ukraine, but Ukraine is paying the biggest price of all to its energy infrastructure, to the people whose lives that are lost, to the millions of Ukrainians that have had to leave their countries and are living overseas. The conflict needs to end. And Rubio said, and it's a policy of the United States that we want it to end. Excuse me. we want to do everything we can to help it, and said Senator Rubio, or excuse me, said Secretary Rubio. And we're going to have to get used to saying that. Few other stories that are trending this morning. Washington Commanders beat the Detroit Lions in a 45-31 upset. And this is, the story is trending. So the Bears have landed Ben Johnson as their next head coach. So they have landed arguably the hottest head coach for their vacancy. As Detroit Lions, this is where the Detroit Lions come into it. Ben Johnson has been the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, and the Bears have landed him as their next head coach. Also trending this morning, 2 weeks after wildfires erupted in Los Angeles, new fires now have broke out more than 100 miles south in San Diego. So those fires are being fueled by the wind. The Santa Ana winds have just been incredible with these fires, prompting more emergency evacuations, forcing school closures, and it triggered 3 new brush fires in San Diego yesterday. Firefighters were able to contain 2 of the fires, but another continues to burn. And it's just been incredible what we have seen. And that's a look at the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. Thanks for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. Fox News Radio coming up fast. Currently cloudy and 29 at Kello.
As it unfolds and your chance to talk about it, Kello, News Talk 1320, 107.9, and Kello.com.
Poor Mark. Just when you thought he was done shoveling. Ah, fiddlesticks, not the plow. We could having you mad, like Mark. I'm even Evan from Marv's Body Shop. This is Mad Mark. I'm mad at winter. If you should slip and slide yourself into a winter driving accident, don't get mad. Get even. Even Evan. That's me at Marv's Body Shop. We'll take care of you. Mark, you still mad at winter? Fiddlesticks. Marv's Body Shop. The new year means new health goals, not just for your body, but your finances too. Your personal info is in so many places that are outside of your control. It only takes one mistake, and not even your mistake, to expose you to identity theft and lost funds. If your identity's stolen, LifeLock's restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your subscription money back. And resolve to make identity, health, and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Visit LifeLock.com and save up to 40% off your first year with promo code PLAY. Terms apply.
Trust and Will knows that we'll all eventually need a will. How about right now? Trust and Will makes creating your will easy, like while you're lounging on the couch easy. Trust and Will is designed by attorneys but customized by you, and all documents are state-specific and secure. Find your plan at trustandwill.com and use offer code RADIO now for 10%. That's trustandwill.com, offer code RADIO. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. Visit trustandwill.com for details.
Whether it's close to home or halfway around the world, we've got you covered. Kello, News Talk 1320, 107.9, and Kello.com.
Fox News Radio coming up fast. Then we'll check in with Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. We'll talk about the issue of eminent domain. That's coming up on the Greg Belfrage Show.
1320 KELO, Sioux Falls, FM 107.9, KEIQ, Glenview, Sioux Falls, and online at Kello.com.
Everyone working in federal agencies, diversity, equity, and inclusion offices, notified by 5 p.m. those jobs are over.
President Trump is moving to end affirmative action in federal contracting and is directing all diversity staff to be put on paid leave and eventually be laid off. The moves following an executive order the president signed on his first day. It ordered sweeping dismantling of the federal government's diversity and inclusion programs.
Fox's Chris Tomeo. Three tech companies are joining forces on artificial intelligence.
Oracle, OpenAI, and Japan's SoftBank will lead an artificial intelligence joint venture called Stargate. The three tech giants revealed the plans in a joint announcement with President Trump.
A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States and very quickly, moving very rapidly, creating over 100,000 American jobs almost immediately.
Other tech companies, including Microsoft, ARM, and NVIDIA, were named Stargate Technology Partners. Stargate's expected to start with a new data center in Texas.
Fox Sola. At least 10 deaths are reported due to the winter storm hitting the south, 5 in a crash on an icy road in Texas, 1 in a crash during snow in Alabama.
The Deep South rarely sees winters or temperatures like this, which may explain why 2 people died in the bitter cold in Austin, Texas, and another died from hypothermia in Georgia. The death of a volunteer firefighter in Dale County, Alabama, is also believed to be cold-related. Investigators say he died in a house fire, likely started by using his kitchen stove to warm his home. Carmen Roberts, Fox News.
10 Palestinians were reported killed in an Israeli military operation targeting militants in Jenin in the West Bank. America's listening to Fox News.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code SECONDFREE by January 26th. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Okay.
Bradley underwent air and combat training and was later awarded the National Defense Service Medal. Tragically, Bradley's promising life was cut short by a helicopter crash off the coast of San Diego, California. Tunnel to